Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you, family. Everything around business consulting and business advisory, it's not all about quantum physics and strategic planning and business goals and business models. Sometimes you just need a confidence boost. Sometimes it's just about confidence and encouragement. That's what we're going to do today. I got my Struggle Beard cup from Struggle Beard Bakery. Um, we're just going to talk about being encouraged today. So be a friend, tell a friend, and I'll be right back.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the Bible...
Nothing in life is worthwhile unless you take risks. Nothing. Nelson Mandela said, "There is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living." Now, I'm sure in your experiences in school and applying to college and picking your major and deciding what you want to do with life, I'm sure people have told you to make sure you have something to fall back on. Make sure you got something to fall back on, honey. But I never understood that concept, having something to fall back on. If I'm going to fall, I don't want to fall back on anything except my faith. I want to fall forward. I figure at least this way I'll see what I'm going to hit. Fall forward. This is what I mean. Reggie Jackson struck out 2,600 times in his career, the most in the history of baseball. But you don't hear about the strikeouts. People remember the home runs. Fall forward. Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 failed experiments. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Because the 1,001st was the light bulb. Fall forward. Every failed experiment is one step closer to success. You've got to take risks, and I'm sure you've probably heard that before. You will fail at some point in your life. Accept it. You will lose. You will embarrass yourself. You will suck at something. There's no doubt about it. I'm telling you, embrace it, because it's inevitable. And I should know. In the acting business, you fail all the time. Early on in my career, I auditioned for a part in a Broadway musical. Perfect role for me, I thought, except for the fact that I can't sing. I didn't get the job. But here's the thing. I didn't quit. I didn't fall back. I walked out of there to prepare for the next audition, and the next audition, and the next audition. I prayed. I prayed. And I prayed. But I continued to fail and fail and fail. But it didn't matter, because you know what? There's an old saying, you hang around the barbershop long enough, sooner or later you're going to get a haircut. So you will catch a break, and I did catch a break. If you don't fail, you're not even trying. I'll say it again. If you don't fail, you're not even trying. My wife told me this great expression. To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did. Les Brown's a motivational speaker. He made an analogy about this. He says, imagine you're on your deathbed, and standing around your deathbed are the ghosts representing your unfulfilled potential. The ghost of the ideas you never acted on. The ghost of the talents you didn't use. And they're standing around your bed, angry, disappointed, and upset. They say, we came to you because you could have brought us to life, they say. And now we have to go to the grave together. So I ask you today, how many ghosts are going to be around your bed when your time comes? So you got to get out there. You got to give it everything you got, whether it's your time, your talent, your prayers, or your treasures. So the question is, what are you going to do with what you have? I'm not talking about how much you have. Some of you are business majors. Some of you are theologians, nurses, sociologists. Some of you have money. Some of you have patience. Some of you have kindness. Some of you have love. Some of you have the gift of long suffering. Whatever it is, whatever your gift is, what are you going to do with what you have? Sometimes it's the best way to figure out where you're going. Your life will never be a straight path. And I can't think of a better message as we send you off today. To not only take risks, but to be open to life, to accept new views, and to be open to new opinions. Because the chances you take, the people you meet, the people you love, the faith that you have, that's what's going to define you. Never be discouraged. Never hold back. Give everything you got. And when you fall throughout life, and maybe even tonight after a few many glasses of champagne, remember this: fall forward.
I know that was a message that our great brother, actor Denzel Washington, did for a graduating class. I think it was at an HBCU. It's the fall forward message that I want us to talk about today. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto each and every one of you. Welcome to the Sajdah channel. You know, a lot of times business is not always about quantum physics and quantitative analysis and business plans and business strategies. It's about being encouraged and being focused on what it is you want. And I'm going to tell you a big mistake that we're taught as a child, really by society, because a lot of times parents don't just actually say this to us, but we see the world based on how the world sees us. This is why the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad are so powerful, because he taught us who we are and whose we are so that we could see ourselves in a light that was different from the way in which the world sees us. For a lot of us, that's our biggest downfall. We're looking at the world around us and we're looking at how we're seen. Do people like us? Then we feel like we're good. If people don't like us, we feel like we're not good. Because we're not accepting who we are, we're not really properly representing ourselves many times, because sometimes we think it just doesn't matter. Every person that comes either to work with me or to connect with me, I try to find out something about who they are. Who are you? Where'd you grow up? Tell me about your mother. Tell me about your father. Tell me about something that happened in your life that's had a great impact on your life. Because I want to get to know them. And my hope is that as they begin to tell me about themselves, that I can begin to foster an environment of them defining for themselves who they are, and not basing their world on how I or anybody else responds to them. You may come to work for me and I may have you doing some quantitative analysis, and maybe you're not that good at it. Maybe you're not good at Excel spreadsheets. I don't want you seeing yourself based on this challenge that you have, this software you got to learn, this development that you have yet to embark upon. The other side of that is oftentimes, so many times, especially those of us that are part of organizations that are very strongly mission driven, we don't necessarily get to know the individual people that we're around, even though we may be around them every single day. It's interesting because I have so many people that say to me, man, when I knew you back in the day, I didn't know this about you, or I didn't know that about you. And I was like, wow. Because there's certain things I know for me that have been constant. But when we are only defining people based on what they can do for us, how they can impact what we've been assigned to do, then we miss the richness and the beauty of that person. Even if sometimes, I know for myself as a young person, I didn't know how to properly represent my interesting life and my interesting background. So if you knew me when I first came into the nation, you didn't know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had been speaking to me since I was a little girl. You didn't know that I came from a family where business was instilled into me. You didn't know that I was raised by a mother who's one of the fiercest warriors you'll ever meet. You didn't know that I was raised by a father that is one of the master strategists and chess players that you'll ever know. You didn't know that I was raised with a balance. A little strength, a little ratchetness with a whole lot of spirituality. You didn't know that I was raised to be relatively fearless. You didn't know that because I was in an organization where I'm trying to go, okay, let me do the right thing. Let me try to, but inside of me is this fierce warrior. This person who had studied business her entire life. Even though I ended up majoring in accounting and finance, and most people knew me as an accountant, that never was what I was. So business development, business planning, strategic planning. So when I went into the corporate world and dove into it and said, this is what I want to do, I fell into exactly what I had been being trained and designed to do my entire life. But people didn't know that. And I'm saying that we also make that mistake. Not only do we do that to one another, but we do it to ourselves. How are people seeing us? Who am I? See, when you get a chance to get to know somebody, you can understand who they are and why they move the way they move, why they tick in a certain way. When you get to know somebody. But when you only know somebody based upon a position they hold in an organization or a job that they have, then you don't really know them. Because they too are operating out of that context. Meanwhile, there's a whole nother person that is who they are that you know nothing about. You don't know that I learned how to navigate through marginalization at a very young age. What do I mean by that? I grew up in the gifted and talented. I was always the only person from my side of the tracks per se, or I was always the only Black person, always the only this or that. I grew up in an environment where I didn't have a lot of all Black this or that. I didn't grow up in Chicago or DC where I saw Black people all the time. I grew up understanding the hatred of racism. I've been egged before by a group of white guys coming home in my Easter outfit. And to show you how you identify with that stuff, I remember being so embarrassed. I took my little Easter coat off, balled it up, put it in the bottom of my closet. And I remember the day my mother found it. And I was so embarrassed because coming home from school, that Monday after Easter, we always wore our Easter outfit. These white boys pulled by in a car, in a truck, and just egged us. I knew what that was like. I knew what it was like to be called a nigga at a very young age. That's why in my research of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I said, I want to know him. Who is he? Because I know in so many cases, people didn't take a moment to get to know me. If you know me, I take a chance. I take a moment to get to know you. Who's your mother? Who's your father? Tell me about your life. Because I want to know you. I want to know about those ingredients that are making up the recipe that have turned out to be the dish that you are. It's important to me. And so as leaders and as entrepreneurs, it's important that we don't just base our knowledge of our staff on the roles and what they can do for us. I thought you was going to hit this sales goal. I thought sometimes people do it when they just meet you. Well, I thought she was going to give us a contract. I thought they was going to do this or that. They didn't know that I'm a strong warrior for Muhammad. I believe. But a lot of times people don't know that because they only know you based upon what they want. Sometimes people know you based on your mistakes. Oh, I knew her when this happened to her. I knew him when he was messing around with sister so-and-so. But do you know the person? As a leader, do you know the person? And I say to all of us that have been marginalized by people's limited view of us, to have courage and to be encouraged, because they are not the God of your life and they don't dictate the results of your life. So maybe they just saw you as an accountant. Maybe they just see you as the brother on post. Maybe they just see you as the sister who types up the minutes at the sorority meeting. Maybe they just see you as the usher in church. Maybe they just see you as the person who serves the food, but you're so much more than that. And don't you limit your accomplishments or limit your view of yourself to the way that they may see you. And this is not about hating nobody. This ain't about being mad about it, because people literally are just mimicking what's happened to them. So I understand that you may have had a limited view of me. Your scope may have been off. You didn't know I was one of the gifted and talented students that was reading at 4 years old. You didn't know that. You just said she do a good job at keeping them books. She do a good job at doing what we told her to do. You didn't know that, and that's okay. But what I'm saying to us, let's evolve. The evolution of this conversation is this. When we have people that are working with us and working for us, take time to get to know them, especially if they're in key positions around you. And if you have so many employees, or you have a lot where you can't necessarily get to know each and every one of them, then admit and be open to the fact that there is a part of them that is beyond what they're doing for you and with you in your business or in this organization. See, we take a very Eurocentric approach to our personal relationships with everyone. Everything goes back to these relationship styles that were established even way back during slavery, during the colonist days. You didn't get to know that person. It was just, how many bales of cotton can they pick? How many children can they breed for us? How many pieces of chicken can they fry? Right? That's the way we were looked at. It became a resume. And then what did? We went out into the corporate world or into the business world during the Industrial Revolution. And we said, let me put together a resume. So based on this resume, this piece of paper that we all used to go out and put in on fancy paper, and, then we started digitizing it. They know you based on what you got on that paper and what they hired you for. But there's so much more to you. And there's so much more to every single one of your employees out here and your workers and people who work for you. See, because you could be sitting next to somebody who is extremely powerful, but you don't know, because you only know them because they just cut the grass. I told you all last summer I had a brother who was cutting the grass for me, but he had majored in horticulture. And whatever had happened in his life, he had been through so much stuff. And I didn't know these different plants. And I had a dream or a vision where Mother Clara Muhammad has said to me, "Find my lamb's ear." I didn't know that was a plant. I heard her say, "Find my lamb's ear." And I'm walking on the property at 4847 South Woodlawn Avenue, and the brother says, "This is lamb's ear." He's pointing to me a plant that's called lamb's ear. And here I was, guilty of what I'm talking to you about, just looking at him as a landscaper. I said, "How do you know that?" He said, "I majored in horticulture." I'm saying that, and I go back. This person who was talking to me knew me when I was working in accounting in the National Secretary's office. And I said, "Brother," I said, I was working as an accountant, but I've always been a business developer. I've always been a business strategist. You just didn't see me as that because you didn't know me as that. I grew up. You all have heard me say on this show, with my mother bringing the Kiplinger report, financial report to me every week that I studied. I grew up building business models all the time. I grew up where my father and I our primary conversation was always around relationship building, strategizing, and business. That's in my epigenetics. I grew up where my mother told us to be ourselves, speak up for ourselves. She encouraged that. She beat that into us. You speak up for yourself. You don't back down for nobody. You didn't know that, though. And I'm sitting there putting these little accounting reports together. And I'm not saying that it's anybody's fault. I'm saying that what I learned from that is that this Eurocentric viewing of ourselves that we practice on a day-to-day basis, I too have practiced. And many of us have practiced. But you don't know who Allah is sending your way. You just don't know. So take the time to get to know the people around you. Now you may say, "Well, girl, who got time to be asking the landscaper, who is he, who is family?" You're right. But understand that there's got to be more to this person than just cutting your grass. There's got to be more to this person than just keeping your books. There's got to be more to this person than just cooking your food or shining your shoes. See, that's the way white folks thought of us back in the day. That's who you are. It was Elvis Presley said all black folks can do for him is buy his records and shine his shoes. That is the limited way in which he saw us. But imagine somebody in his status in the industry, the types of phenomenal people that were gravitated to that energy space around him that he missed. Imagine. Just imagine. So be encouraged today. Because if nobody else sees you beyond what you are, you see yourself as that. Don't limit yourself to what's on that resume. See, most of us live our lives off of a resume. You know what broke me of that? Is when I went to Benin right before the pandemic. And I read about and saw those slave malls. We went to Ouida. We went to the castle, to King Dahome's palace, where they filmed The Woman King. This is before The Woman King came out. We were there. And I'm the kind of person, when I travel, I don't vacation. I travel for experiences. So I'm looking to submerge myself spiritually into something. And that trip in Benin, I was very much submerged. And there was so much that was flowing through me. And I mean, I wrote quite a few pages on the plane on the way back. that I still have yet to publish. I know. Um, but a lot of my trips have been like that, but that one was one that really touched me. I was feeling this energy of love and betrayal, and I was feeling the women and King Dahomey, and I felt the slave mall and the way that they have the professions, or what they think the person may be good enough for, written above the, I guess you call it, the stores, the slave stores. So rice herder, breeder, whatever. And I thought, that's almost like a resume. That's so that the person who is buying you can know what they're buying. It's like when we fill out an application, we fill out a resume. Yeah, we like to think of it as our way of proving ourselves that we're qualified. But as you get to a certain point where you're already qualified, it's all about what's on this resume so I can determine what I can buy you for. And so I stopped living my life based on what's on a resume. Oh, I'm an accountant. Oh, I'm a business developer. I do whatever. I'm an engineer. I had this experience. And I started living my life based upon my connectivity to Allah. I rose up out of that piece of paper, that virtual piece of paper, that resume that I have been living within for years. See, some of us walk around puffed up because our resume looks good. Some of us walk around and we embody, oh, I'm an architect. And we come into the room as an architect. Or we come into the room as an engineer. Or, oh, I'm a financial planner and I come into the room as that. Is that all you are? Who put that label on you? Who told you that's who you are? Let me tell you something. I'm a walking example of somebody with a lot of educational background and experience that really proves that as you evolved into your development as a person, it all just kind of blends together. I have medicine and healthcare. I have engineering. I have finance and accounting. I have real estate. I have psychology and all. I have music. All just kind of blends together and has now come together to become this one person. So I've been on a mission for a while to discover and continue to mine out my authentic self. And what that meant to me when I started saying that back in 2009 was not segregating myself, not being corporate Wendy, music Wendy, psychologist Wendy, healthcare Wendy, engineer, but just putting them all together. And the beautiful thing is I got a new name. So Sajdah is the culmination of all of that. But even if you don't have a new name, before that, I had started going, okay, how do I embrace all of me? How do I not see? Here's the thing. If you walk into the room as an architect, if you walk into the room as an accountant, if you walk into the room as a doctor, then if you get fired, what's that say about your self-worth? How are you struggling? If you're not as successful as you really think you should be, what's that do for your self-esteem? What does that do for your confidence? How safe do you feel? How comfortable do you feel then? See, but if you see yourself as the whole person, not based upon how other people see you, then no matter what happens in that field of endeavor that you may have majored in and started doing, that ain't even that big of a deal no more. I remember being in Africa and them talking to me about how they see doctors and lawyers, for example, versus how they may be seen in America. And in America, that doctor and that lawyer, they are at the top of the food chain. Like that's getting into God territory, right? Especially the doctor. But in certain parts of the world, those people work for the strategists and the leaders and the business people, and so they don't put them on pedestals. It's just a profession that they have to have a connection to. Many wealthy people have doctors that live on their estates or on their ground. They have a lawyer that's on their payroll. Why am I saying this? Not to put down doctors and lawyers and accountants or any of us that have been in that profession. I'm saying that because we tend to see the world based upon how the world sees us. And with the coming of Master Fard Muhammad, who told us, you are the original man, you are the original woman, you are a direct descendant of the originator himself. You are part of the divine line of greatness. Well, you know, the world didn't see us as that. The world didn't see the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as that. That's the reason why he said nobody would have looked at him there plowing a mule and think that he would grow up to become a scientist teaching the world. Nobody would have thought that. Because we're seeing people based on what they do. Oh, he's plowing a mule. So when I see him plowing a mule, I extrapolate what that means and what that could potentially mean for his future. Thank you, Sister Nubia Latifa. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, those of you who are in the chat. So when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us to accept our own and be ourselves, sometimes we forgot to break it down beyond what we do every day, what we do for an organization, what we do in a particular capacity. Whether we're the waiter, the waitress, whether we shine shoes in the airport, whether we work at Popeyes, whether we're working TSA, whether we're just an accountant in an organization, or whether we're an engineer, whatever it is, there's more to that person than just that. And it's you who make the mistake. It's me who make the mistake when I think that a brother cutting the grass can't give me insight into a vision-like experience that I had where Mother Clara Muhammad said, find my lamb's ear. See, this is part of evolution. This is part of leadership, this new conscious entrepreneurship that we've been talking about here. Seeing people beyond what they do for you. Seeing people beyond how you think they serve you and your interests. There's more to each and every person. God showed up inside of each and every person, and everybody showed up on the planet for a reason. I hope that helps. I see y'all in the chat. Let me talk to y'all really quickly. I got to give y'all a couple of announcements before we go. Brother Lamont, good morning. Assalamu alaikum. He says, and happy Friday. And we say, good morning, sir. Wa alaikum salam and happy Friday to you as well. Happy Friday, Mother. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining as always. Nubia Latifa. She said, happy Friday, y'all. Thank you, and thank you. And Sister Alita's in the house. She says, ASA, morning blessings, everyone. Happy Friday. ASA, for those of you who don't know, is an acronym for Assalamu alaikum. ASA, Assalamu alaikum. So we say wa alaikum salam, sis. Morning blessings to you and happy Friday to you as well. And thank you, Sister Nubia Latifa, for the super sticker. She hit that super chat button, gave us a super sticker. You can support the movement by hitting the super chat, giving us a super sticker, or go into Cash App and go to Sajdah Enterprises and support the movement. You can also become a sponsor We've got a couple of events coming up. The next event that you can become a sponsor is we are having what is called Black Opera in White. Can't wait for you to experience this. We are working with a phenomenal young Black opera singer. Her name is Arlesia Stapleton. She is amazing. She is trained in opera. I spent some time getting to know her over the weekend, and her background story is beautiful, phenomenal. I tell y'all, Black people are not a monolith. You got to take the time to get to know each other. Stop acting like white folks and like only thing we can do is shine your shoes. Don't do that. I sit down with this sister and look behind the singing and behind the opera. I wanted to understand the vibration that was coming through her voice, and it was powerful. Young sister, 23 years old. We are having Black Opera in White. We're going to be doing some operatic expressions, if you will, of some of the poems of Langston Hughes. We got a few in English that we're going to be doing. We got some Italian songs we're going to be doing. We got some French. So stay close to the website, sajdahhouse.com. We're working on the flyer and the marketing materials now, and we're going to get that out. Put the set list together yesterday, and it is beautiful and it's a phenomenal. So if you've never been to a Black opera event or seen Black opera, you're going to see it this year at the Art, Culture, and Civilization series at the Elijah Muhammad House Museum, also known as Sajdah House. So I cannot wait. It's going to be May 10th from 3 to 6 p.m. So the first part of that period of time, we'll do opera, and then we'll do some networking and mingling. So we're also going to invite our Black Muslim businesses to come back. We're only going to have 100 tickets, so you're going to have to get them and get them quick. So we'll put the flyer out there. Stay close to social media, because you'll see when we put them out there. But I'm excited. And we're opening this up, obviously, to the arts community, to the preservation community, to those. It's clearly a private event, but we will have tickets. And the tickets really are to just compensate us for the cost of the event. We're putting everything together. We're working on our decor. But Black Opera in White, it is a musical expression of Blackness. And we have one song that we chose is His Name So Sweet. And so that's the theme of the night, His Name So Sweet, inside of the Elijah Muhammad House Museum, who is a true friend, not only to the Black community, but to all of us. He taught us to see ourselves bigger than the way the world sees us. All right, family. I'm done early today. If y'all don't have any questions, any comments, anything you want to talk about, I hope this helped. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if it kind of helped you tweak your view of yourself or expand beyond what's on the paper, beyond what's on the resume. Now, let me say this one last thing. We live in a world where people are stereotyped, packaged, and categorized. Either you old or you young, you Black, you white, you Muslim, you Christian, you this, you that. And that limits us. And it limits those around us. Because we are taught, the way we think is we look at somebody, we put them in a category, and then we decide whether or not they can be useful to us depending upon what category they're in. Right? If somebody's older, we go, okay, that's an auntie or that's a grandma. And so then we have different views in which we want to say what an auntie means. You know, people say, oh, that's my godmommy. Well, what does that mean to you? Because it may not mean to me what it means to you. I'm not writing you checks just because you say I'm auntie or because you say I'm godmommy. I'll give you some advice. I'll support you. But we oftentimes package and label people based on what it is that we want from them and what we're expecting from them. Nothing wrong with that, because there's always expectations in a relationship but we have to be transparent with those expectations, because maybe if we express ourselves, that person can tell you how much more they can contribute to your life than just the limited way in which you see them. Okay. All right, family. Love you all very much. Like I said, stay close to social media. Tune in tomorrow morning for Saturday morning coffee talks. Make a support, make a donation. You can become a sponsor. Oh, I didn't finish telling you that. Sponsor the event. The sponsorship start at $250 for the event. We so far have a few people. Okay, let's see who we got. We got Brother Lemuel and his organization, Kata as a sponsor, Sister Aletha and her financial services organization as a sponsor. And so you can become a sponsor too. Sponsorships start at $250, or you can do some kind of in-kind services, and that oftentimes people may do. Sister Sajdah with her legal services is a sponsor. So either cash sponsorship or in-kind services can make you a sponsor as well. It's going to be a beautiful playbill that we have. So as you're sitting there listening to the opera, you can follow along with the Langston Hughes poems. And it's all about what it means to be Black. So it's a musical expression of Blackness. So, and it's really a journey. And we're going to take you from slavery to Jim Crow all the way up today with musical expression of Blackness. And then we're going to also have a short panel discussion where we're talking about the importance, as taught to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, of music, of arts, creativity, and the importance of how the arts can be used to express who we are. So just something fun, a beautiful upscale event. It's white, so you got to wear white. And when I say white, you can wear your white linen, your white summer outfit. We want you to come dressed modest. So don't throw your white hot pants on or your white back out or tube top. No. Not in sacred spaces. And if you travel internationally, you know, if you go to Italy, you cannot enter those cathedrals with your back out, your arms out, your chest out, your legs out. They make sure that you come in dressed a certain kind of way. So be beautiful, be classy, be fly, be lit in your white. So it's Black opera in white. So y'all start working on your white, because we got a few white events coming up this summer. All right. And so that's how you do that. If you want to be a sponsor, just email me, sajdahhouse@gmail.com. I think it might be going across the bottom here. I have some money psychology things coming up. I'm working on an assessment that you'll be able to take to sort of assess your money psychology. And then I have 5 slots that just opened up for consultations. If you buy one, you get additional one at no charge. You can do that at booksajdahwendymuhammad.com, or you can support the movement, Sajdah Enterprises on Cash App. All right. Love you all. Peace and blessings. And I will, inshallah, see you all tomorrow morning.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. but it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the Bible